Hello everyone. So I've got two videos for you today. First up, I'm going to do an in-depth review of these two test scents from Slatkin & Co. Bath & Body Works that unfortunately I believe are not going wide, at least in this form. We've got Lavender and Vetiver, just straight scents, obviously with more notes to them, but marketed just as, a straight up single note candle or scent. And then the second video I'm going to do a more overall review of lavender itself. So I've got some body products, some home products, many different candles, a few different brands, just of all different types of lavenders, and talking about their uses, and just a review of the different versions or that lavender comes in, or different ways that it can be used in scent. So stay tuned for that video coming up next. But first I wanted to get into these two. So these two scents I ordered from a test store probably sometime in May, and they weren't at my local test store, so I think they were super limited. Don't know what they were, if they were going to replace that Aromatherapy Home Good Life Gold Lid collection, or if it was just something on the side, if they were testing a simple marketing, with a straight, single name there, or really what the deal was with these. I called the store today actually to check on that to see, and they said they must have been discontinued because they only had a couple left in lavender, nothing in vetiver, and that they were actually full price. Because I'd wondered maybe if they had gone, if they were discontinued, maybe they were 75% off through the semi-annual sale. But the associate I spoke with said that the couple of lavender are left and they're full price. So no idea really what's going on there. Folks have also been mentioning, however, that they've been hearing about something similar to this, a new line coming separately from the fall line that is going to be these all sort of similar to this with the single note names. Lemon, cotton, not your fresh lemon or fresh cotton, but just lemon, cotton, a lavender vanilla spice, which I don't know if that would be the cinnamony spice from the holiday collection that usually comes out. That would seem pretty odd to me that it would come out now with a cotton and lemon and lavender. But I mean, anything's possible. But so they have said that those are coming sometime either this month or next month. My test store doesn't have them. I'm not sure if any stores do have them right now. Someone on Bath & Body Works Facebook did post a photo, it looks like a marketing photo actually, of some lemon mini candles, and they're marketed as White Barn, and they do look similar to these labels. So I'm hoping that maybe the vetiver and lavender will be released as part of that collection, since they seem to be similar labels, albeit as White Barn instead of Slatkin & Co. But this single name, single word name, as far as the lemon and the cotton. So I do have a photo. I'll show you on my phone. It's kind of low budge here to show it this way, but at least you get an idea. There we go. So it's lemon. Again, don't know if it's a fresh lemon or really what it's going to be, but it's just lemons. It looks like it's got a silver name there, and it does say White Barn above the label. So you can see it's sort of reminiscent or similar to the labels and the look they were going for here. So time will tell as to whether or not these will happen, but as of now, at least Vetiver is out of stores, so I do apologize that I don't think you'll be able to get this unless maybe it's shown up in some outlets. I really don't know. But getting into these, they're both really, really nice scents. I have two of the Vetiver and one of the lavender, and I would have happily bought more, especially if they were discounted, because they're really, really nice scents. I've mentioned it before, I'm not as big on the bakery or foodie or fruity scents. Like, of course, my collection has all of those in it. I do enjoy all of them, but my favorite is when you get into something that's more therapeutic, aromatherapy, herbal, conceptual, things that aren't just, again, don't get me wrong, I love, an autumn apple or fresh market apple, or the new farm stand apple, things that are a little bit more, food items, or a flower shop, something, or a lilac blossom. But my favorite things are the ones that when it's clear that someone who develops fragrance has taken this and almost made into a high-end, a fragrance, or like almost a perfume, a cologne, where there are many notes and it's meant to sort of either evoke an emotion or be reminiscent of this main item that's in it, and they do it really well. There are some of my favorite scents in one of my collection videos you've seen. A lot of those are in there, like your toasted almond, green tea white pear, the lemongrass cardamom, black pepper, I'm sorry, not black pepper, bergamot coriander, just really, really nice in-depth things with many layers and many notes. Those are my favorite candles. I think they're really the most impressive and what I really am interested in. And also with these two candles, you may have seen them in a few of my other videos. I mentioned them in my very first Aromatherapy Home Gold Lid Good Life collection video, and then in one of my collection videos as well. I think the fifth one with my other aromatherapy scents. But all that being said, let's get into these. So we've got vetiver. We'll go with lavender first because that's a little more simple. So Slatkin & Co. on the lid, and it just says lavender here. For those folks who are interested in the labels, it's the large label, and the lavender is embossed slightly. So these are reminiscent of the new fall line without the huge font on the front. And the notes of this are bright and crisp, fresh-picked lavender combined with sweet jasmine, delicate freesia, and a touch of sandalwood. Now when I smell this, I get probably 90 to 95% lavender. If I didn't see the notes of the florals with jasmine and freesia, I wouldn't have picked them out on my own. And the sandalwood is very much an afterthought. It's, maybe they're just make it a little earthy, a little bit creamy, the very slightest bit, but it's not an overwhelming scent. I don't think anyone would smell this and say, oh, I hate that there's sandalwood in this. And also there's, the good thing with this one is there's no mint. There's not a hint of mint, which a lot of the recent lavender scents by Slatkin & Co. have included mint, just sort of randomly in there. It's really, really nice. It's probably my favorite lavender they've had. It's not, as far as I'm aware, not a dupe of any other lavenders, not their lavender vanilla, because there's no sort of homey warmth with this. It's not the Lavender Market from the Parisian line. It's not the Peach Lavender or French Garden from the Parisian line that had lavender in it. It's because it's not fruity. It's, again, there's a little bit of floral, but it matches the lavender so well that you really can't pick out. I don't think anyone would pick out the freesia or jasmine as something that they don't like about this. It's not floral. This is very much more, for me, an herbal scent, because while lavender is a flower, it tends more towards astringent or herbal than a typical floral scent like a lilac or heliotrope or something. This is very, very nice. I'll get more in depth and compare it to some of the other Slatkin scents in the next video where I do all about lavender. But yeah, it's a lovely scent, and I'd be surprised if we don't see it somehow. Again, maybe it released along with the lemon and the cotton and whatever candles are coming out with that, that sideline. And then we've got vetiver. This is very interesting. Now, vetiver is, a lot of people don't know what it is. I believe that it is actually a root, that they use an extract from the root in perfume and cologne and fragrance items. As far as I'm aware, it's not something that's edible. I think it's just for scent. But it's a note that people usually don't recognize, but when you smell it, you would recognize it as a note from a cologne, maybe a perfume. If there's a really intense perfume, it wouldn't surprise me if it had some vetiver in it. But certainly many men's colognes have layers of vetiver in them. Last year, Slatkin & Co.'s Mountain Leaves had vetiver in it. That's the only other candle, I think, that has had vetiver, at least in recent history, with Bath & Body Works, Slatkin & Co. But this is one of those where there are tons of notes and tons of layers to it, and it's just really, it's hard to describe and hard to compare it to anything. So if we get into the notes, it's warm, earthy vetiver. Makes sense, it's a root. Blends perfectly with rich neroli, which is, I believe neroli is a citrus, and fresh citrus, so I guess more of a straight-up citrus rind or something, with notes of tobacco and coriander. Coriander tends to go sort of to the spice side of things. Bergamot coriander was a really nice aromatherapy scent that they had a few years ago that had a strong, very astringent citrus with the coriander, which was energizing. Tobacco, don't think cigar, certainly don't think cigarette, don't even really think smoky. It's more the raw tobacco, which, I've never smelled tobacco other than, the tobacco that's in a cigarette or loose tobacco, which is so heavily processed. I think this is going more on the true tobacco leaf, which, of course, people hear tobacco and think disgusting, smoky, dark, dim library, but it's more the earthiness of it. So don't think negatively just because it says tobacco, or, it's not going to smell like dirt, put it that way. But this really is a very complex scent. Oh man, I love it. It really is. It's so rich and so... The crazy thing with this is it's not just a heavy... it's not just like a, a men's cologne in that it's not just a dark library scent. It's not a heavy scent. It's not cloying. It's really rich, but it's very earthy. But then they throw in the citrus and the neroli, which really brightens it up and lightens it. So it's got a really cool balance between the heavy depth and also the bright light, of your citrus and even the spice of the coriander in there. So it's really, really fascinating. I think it's a great scent. I'm not sure how it did in the test. I don't know if this is all we'll ever see of it, but I love that they tried to go in this direction because it really is, no one would go in the store saying, I want a vetiver candle, the way they might go in the store saying, I want, a pumpkin cupcake candle. But I think it's so much more impressive when they have something like this that is, there's nothing in nature that naturally smells like this that they're trying to duplicate. It just is a good combination of naturally occurring scents, and it's just very, very impressive. Again, the only thing I could say that it's similar to in any way without being at all a duplicate would be Mountain Leaves from last fall. That's not to say if you love Mountain Leaves, you'll love this, or if you hated Mountain Leaves, which I think a lot of people hated it, that you would hate this. You might not like Mountain Leaves and like Vetiver because Mountain Leaves had Mountain Air, Evergreen, Iced Citrus, and Rich Vetiver. So you have the citrus and the vetiver that match, but there's no Evergreen in straight up vetiver. But it's got, I'd say, sort of the same family. So you could have the Mountain Leaves and the vetiver maybe in the same line, that they are, again, similar in style without being anything really close to each other. And then there's one other thing that I actually realized that, again, because most people know what lavender smells like, but very few know what vetiver smells like, so I was trying to figure out how to describe this candle. And the only other thing that I could come up with, actually, that is close without being the same, it's somewhat close, is actually a fragrance that was developed by Lush, Body Care, and I think they go by Lush Cosmetics, I think. But it was developed by Gorilla Perfume at Lush. And I actually have it in a body spray, but they have it in a perfume, they have it in little dabber sticks, they have it in a spray bottle, and this is the body spray of it, and it's called Dirty. I'm not a huge Lush fan, but I have some products from them, and I love this one. And when I smelled it, it's super, super intense. There's a lot of, I just sprayed it on my arm here, but it's got a lot of, it seems almost like a mint to it, but I don't see mint in their product notes. Or maybe there's menthol or something. But it's super, super intense, herbal, while being heavy and masculine at the same time, but bright, which is what I'm getting from the Vetiver candle. It's deep, it's earthy, it's heavy, but it's also got that brightness to it. And when I looked actually at the notes in this cologne, again, I'm not reading this from the website, I'm just literally looking at their ingredient list, which is kind of interesting that they have it as ingredients, because it's not a food item, so it's kind of, I don't know, I don't think this is normal that body sprays tell you exactly what notes. But in this, it has, obviously, alcohol, perfume, methyl iodine, then it has tarragon oil, sandalwood oil, lavender absolute, neroli oil, thyme absolute, and then a few other things in there that I'm not exactly sure if those are just vehicles for the scent or if they are scents themselves, although there's also, it says, hydroxycitronellyl, which I assume might be a base of actual citronella. And then it just says here that these all occur naturally in essential oils. So this is actually kind of nice that it has many true essential oils in it to get the scent, which is why it's so strong that the body spray, one spray of it, is enough that it lasts all day. I'm not usually a fan of body sprays, and I don't like the look of the bottle, to be honest with you, but it's just a really intense, nice scent. And so if you've smelled this, or if you want to know what the vetiver smells like, it's kind of similar, because you've got, in looking at this, you've got the the neroli is in here, and of course there's no vetiver in that, but certainly the citrus and the spiciness of the tobacco and coriander and the neroli. It wouldn't surprise me actually if the vetiver has some of these. It might even have a dab of the lavender or sandalwood, the tarragon, some sort of thyme, something like that in there. So again, if you want to compare, if you know this, that's what this is like. Again, and that's not maybe super helpful if you can't purchase the Vetiver candle anymore, but it's certainly worth a shot. Maybe, check out some outlets. If it wasn't super successful, maybe it's there. Or again, maybe we'll see it released sometime down the line in a different format. But again, I've rambled on here as usual, so this is my review of the Lavender and Vetiver from the Slatkin & Co. White Barn test stores from earlier this spring. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to get into an in-depth look at all things lavender. As always, thanks for watching.